On Christmas morning, my daughter handed me a cup of tea and smiled too wide. That's when I knew, after 68 years on this earth, after raising her, after trusting her with everything she was trying to drug me. My name is Grace Morrison. I'm 68 years old, a widow, and until that morning I thought I knew my daughter. I was wrong. Let me back up. My daughter Chloe has always been beautiful. Even as a little girl, she had this way of lighting up a room, blonde curls, bright smile, the kind of child strangers would stop to compliment. What a little angel, they'd say, and my husband Harold would beam with pride. She grew up to be everything we hoped for. Straight A's in school, marketing degree from state, a good job at a tech company in the city. When she married Marcus Wade 12 years ago, Harold and I thought she'd found the perfect partner. Marcus was charming. Tall, handsome, always knew the right thing to say. He'd been a real estate broker, successful or so it seemed. He'd show up to family dinners with expensive wine, tell jokes that made everyone laugh, call me Mom, like he meant it. "You raised an incredible woman," he told me once at Thanksgiving, his arm around Chloe's waist. "We're so lucky to have you in our lives." I believed him. Looking back now, I can see the cracks. But when you love someone, when you trust them, you don't look for cracks. You see what you want to see. Harold died 3 years ago. Heart attack sudden, the kind that steals someone in the middle of the night. One moment he was there, snoring softly beside me like he had for 42 years. The next morning he was gone. I thought I'd die too. Not physically, though part of me wanted to, but die inside the way people do when they lose the person who made sense of the world. Harold was my compass. Without him, I was just drifting. Chloe was there for me. Or at least I thought she was. She came to the funeral in a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. She held my hand during the service. She helped me sort through Harold's things, his clothes, his tools, the boxes of old paperwork he'd saved in the garage. "Mom," she said one afternoon, sitting at my kitchen table while I made coffee, "you shouldn't be alone in this big house. Have you thought about maybe downsizing, moving somewhere smaller, easier to manage?" I looked around the kitchen. The same yellow curtains I'd hung 30 years ago. The crack in the tile floor from when Chloe dropped a casserole dish at age 16. Harold's coffee mug still sitting on the counter because I couldn't bring myself to put it away. "This is my home, sweetheart," I said quietly. "I'm not ready to leave it." She smiled, but something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment, maybe. Or calculation. "Of course, Mom. I understand. Just think about it, okay? Marcus and I worry about you." I should have asked why. Why worry about a 65-year-old woman who still drove herself to the grocery store, balanced her own checkbook, beat her neighbor Walter at chess 3 times a week? But I didn't ask. I just nodded and poured her coffee. That was the first mistake. The requests started small. 6 months after Harold died, Chloe called me crying. Her business, some online store selling handmade crafts, wasn't doing well. They needed money to keep it afloat. "Just $5,000, Mom. We'll pay you back in 3 months, I promise." I wrote the check that afternoon. She hugged me so tight I could smell her expensive perfume, feel her tears on my shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're saving us." 3 months passed. No repayment. I didn't bring it up. Then it was the car. Marcus's car had broken down, some problem with the transmission. $3,000 for repairs. "We're between paychecks, Mom. Just until Marcus closes his next deal." I wrote another check. Then the kitchen renovation. Then Tyler's tuition deposit for college, even though I'd already set up a college fund for my grandson years ago. Then the emergency roof repair on their house. Each time Chloe had a reason. Each time she promised repayment. Each time I said yes. I kept a ledger the way Harold taught me. I'd been the chief accountant at Morrison Manufacturing for 23 years. I knew how to track money. In my neat handwriting, I recorded every dollar. November 2022, $5,000. Business loan, February 2023, $3,000. Car repair, April 2023, $8,500. Kitchen renovation, July 2023, $4,000. Tyler's deposit, September 2023, $22,000. Save the house. The last one hurt the most. Chloe had come to my house on a Tuesday afternoon. She wasn't wearing makeup, unusual for her. Her eyes were red puffy from crying. She sat on my floral couch, the same couch where she'd done homework as a teenager, and told me they were going to lose the house. "We're 2 months behind on the mortgage," she said, her voice breaking. "The bank sent a foreclosure notice. Mom, they're going to take our home. Tyler will have to change schools. We'll have to move into an apartment, maybe leave the state. She looked at me with those blue eyes, Harold's eyes, and I saw my little girl, the one who used to climb into my lap when she had nightmares, the one who made me Mother's Day cards with crayon drawings. How much do you need? I asked. $22,000. I know it's a lot, Mom. I know, but we've been working so hard and Marcus has deals in the pipeline, and we just need this one chance to catch up. I went to my desk and wrote the check. My hand shook a little. It was most of my savings from one account, but I told myself it was family. You help family. Chloe took the check, hugged me, promised she'd pay me back within 6 months. You're the best mother in the world, she said. That was 8 months ago. I never saw a penny of repayment, but I told myself it didn't matter. They were struggling. Times were tough. What kind of mother demands money back from her own daughter? The kind who pays attention, maybe. The kind who asks questions. I didn't ask questions. Easter came warm and early that year. I brought a ham and homemade rolls to Chloe and Marcus's house, the house I'd helped save. It was beautiful, 2 stories, white columns out front, perfectly manicured lawn. Marcus had always been proud of that house. After dinner, while Marcus took Tyler outside to throw a football, Chloe pulled out a manila folder from her desk. Mom, I need you to look at something, she said, sliding it across the kitchen table. Just some updated insurance paperwork. The hospital requires it now you know how bureaucracy is. I put on my reading glasses. The folder was thick, filled with official-looking documents. Words like beneficiary and healthcare proxy and financial authority. What is all this? I asked. Just standard stuff, Chloe said, pouring me more iced tea. Making sure everything's organized. You know, in case anything ever happens. It's what responsible families do. She said it so casually, like she was talking about grocery lists or vacation plans. Dr. Foster said everyone over 65 should have these documents in order, she continued. She mentioned it at my last appointment. I figured I'd help you get it done, one less thing for you to worry about. Dr. Linda Foster had been my family doctor for 15 years. If she recommended it, it must be legitimate. Where do I sign? I asked. Chloe flipped to the last page, pointed to a line. Right here, and initial here. I signed. 3 times. My signature, Grace Morrison, in blue ink. Perfect, Chloe said, sliding the folder back. I'll get these filed. One more thing off your to-do list. Thank you, sweetheart, I said. I don't know what I'd do without you. She smiled, kissed my cheek. That's what daughters are for, Mom. I didn't think about those documents again. Not for months. Life continued. I volunteered at the library on Thursdays, shelving books and helping kids with homework. I took a watercolor class at the community center, something I'd always wanted to do but never had time for when Harold was alive and I was working. I played chess with Walter, my neighbor, who'd become a good friend since his wife passed. Chloe called every week or so. Short conversations. How are you, Mom? Everything okay? But always with this undercurrent of, something. I couldn't name it then. Tyler visited once a month. My grandson, 19 years old, studying engineering at State University. He looked like Harold, same dark hair, same thoughtful eyes, but he had Chloe's smile. Grandma, why do you live in this big house all alone? He asked one Sunday afternoon, helping me rake leaves in the backyard. Because it's my home, honey, I said. Your grandpa and I bought this house when your mom was just a baby. Every room has memories. He nodded quiet. Then, Mom and Dad argue a lot about money. I stopped raking. They do? Yeah, late at night. I hear them through the walls. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd said too much. I probably shouldn't have mentioned it. It's okay, I assured him. All couples argue about money sometimes. Your grandpa and I did too. But Harold and I never argued like that. We budgeted together, made decisions together. We were partners. I pushed the thought away. November came cold and gray. Thanksgiving was at Chloe's house tradition since Harold died. I brought sweet potato casserole and pumpkin pie. Marcus was different that day, quieter. He kept checking his phone, disappearing into his office for calls. When he came back, his jaw was tight, his smile forced. Everything okay? I asked quietly while Chloe was in the kitchen. Fine, Mom, he said, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. Just work stuff. You know how it is. I didn't know. Marcus had lost his real estate license 3 years ago. Something about a client complaint, paperwork irregularities. He'd been working as an independent consultant since then, but I'd never been quite sure what that meant. After dinner, I excused myself to use the bathroom. On my way back, I passed Marcus's office. The door was ajar. I heard his voice, low and urgent. "I told you we're working on it. Her assets are substantial. The house alone is worth $450 plus savings investments. No, she hasn't changed anything yet. We have the POA. Once we establish incompetency, we can—" I froze. "Move her into memory care within 60 days. Then we liquidate." "Yeah, the lawyer said it's clean. She signed everything. She doesn't even know what she signed." My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I backed away, silently returned to the dining room on shaking legs. Chloe was clearing plates. "Mom, you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," I managed. "Just tired. I think I should head home." "All ready, but we haven't had pie yet." "I have a headache, sweetheart. Rain check." I gathered my things, hugged Tyler goodbye. He whispered, "Feel better, Grandma," and drove home in a daze. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with every light on, drinking chamomile tea that had gone cold, trying to make sense of what I'd heard. Her assets are substantial. We have the POA. She doesn't even know what she signed. At 2 a.m., I went to my filing cabinet. Harold used to call it my worry box, a metal cabinet in the spare bedroom where I kept every important document we'd ever signed. Birth certificates, marriage license, Harold's death certificate, the deed to the house, my will. I found the Easter folder, pulled out every page, read every single word. General durable power of attorney. I, Grace Ann Morrison, hereby designate Chloe Morrison Wade as my attorney-in-fact, granting her full authority to act on my behalf in all matters, including but not limited to financial transactions, real property banking investments, tax matters, legal proceedings, and healthcare decisions. It went on for 6 pages. Dense legal language. But the meaning was clear. I'd given Chloe complete control over everything I owned. My hands went cold. Not shaking, just cold, like the blood had stopped flowing. At the bottom of page 6, this power of attorney shall become effective immediately upon execution and shall remain in effect unless revoked in writing by the principal. Immediately. It was already active. I flipped back to page 1, squinted at the fine print near the top. In the event the principal is deemed mentally incapacitated by a licensed physician, the attorney-in-fact shall have authority to make all decisions regarding the principal's care, residence, and asset management. They could have me declared incompetent, put me in a home, take my house, my savings, everything Harold and I built, and I'd signed it, with my own hand, because my daughter asked me to. I sat there until sunrise, that folder in my lap, watching the darkness fade to gray through my kitchen window. At 6:30 a.m., I called Daniel Westbrook. Daniel had been our family lawyer since 1987. He'd handled the house purchase, Harold's will business contracts when I was still working. He was 65 now, silver-haired with reading glasses that always sat crooked on his nose. "Grace," he said when I arrived at his office that morning, "I got your message. You sounded— Are you all right?" I handed him the folder. "I need you to read this. Tell me what it means." He read slowly. I watched his expression change, professional neutrality shifting to concern, then to something like alarm. "Grace," he said quietly, "did you understand what you were signing?" "No." My voice was steady. I was past panic now. "My daughter told me it was insurance paperwork." "This is not insurance paperwork." He removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes. "This is a nuclear option. Do you know what she can do with this? Tell me." He laid out the folder on his desk like evidence at a trial. "With this document, Chloe has complete authority over your finances. She can access your bank accounts, sell your house, liquidate your investments, all without your permission. She can make medical decisions for you. If a doctor signs a letter saying you're mentally incapacitated, confused, forgetful, unable to make decisions, she can have you placed in a care facility. You'd have no say." The room felt too small suddenly, too bright. "Can she do that? Just have a doctor declare me incompetent?" "If she finds the right doctor, yes." He leaned forward. "Grace, are you experiencing any confusion, memory problems?" "No. I beat Walter at chess 3 times last week. I balanced my checkbook yesterday. I finished the Sunday crossword in pen." A small smile. "Then you're more competent than most people I know." The smile faded. "But that may not matter if she's planning to—" "Grace, why did she want you to sign this?" I told him. The money I'd given her, the the conversation I'd overheard, Marcus's voice. Once we establish incompetency, we can move her into memory care within 60 days. Daniel's jaw tightened. This is elder abuse, financial exploitation. It's illegal. It's my daughter. It's still illegal. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside his window, I could see the downtown plaza people walking to work with coffee cups, living normal lives. What can I do? I asked finally. First, we revoke this immediately. I'll draft a revocation document today, get it notarized. Second, we create a new power of attorney, limited specific naming someone you trust, not Chloe. Tyler, I said, my grandson. How old is he? 19. He's in college. Daniel hesitated. He's young, and he's Chloe's son. There could be conflicts of interest. He's the only family I have who hasn't tried to steal from me. Fair point. He made notes on a legal pad. We'll name him as successor POA, but with conditions he can't activate it until age 25, or until you're genuinely incapacitated as determined by 2 independent physicians. In the meantime, I'll serve as your medical proxy. Is that acceptable? Yes. Third, we need to review your will. Make sure it reflects your current wishes. It does. Everything goes to Tyler with a trust fund for his education. And Chloe, I looked at him. What about her? Does she inherit anything? I thought about that blue-eyed little girl who used to make me Mother's Day cards. The daughter who held my hand at Harold's funeral. The woman who'd smiled at me across the kitchen table while I signed away my life. No, I said. She inherits nothing. Daniel nodded slowly. I'll draft an amendment. A codicil specifically disinheriting her with a no-contest clause. If she challenges the will, she forfeits any potential claim. Do it. We worked for 2 hours. Daniel drafted documents, explained every clause, every word. I read each page twice. When it came time to sign, my hand was steady as stone. At noon, we walked to a notary public 3 blocks away. A young woman with kind eyes watched me sign, checked my ID, pressed her seal into the paper. Are you signing this of your own free will? She asked, required question. Yes, I said. More than I've ever been sure of anything. Back at Daniel's office, he made copies of everything. Put the originals in his safe. Grace, he said as I prepared to leave. This is going to change your relationship with Chloe. Possibly end it. She ended it, I said quietly, when she tried to take everything my husband and I built. Fair enough, but be prepared. She'll fight this, and it's going to hurt. I looked at him, this man who'd known me for 38 years, who'd watched Chloe grow up, who'd toasted at her wedding. I've already been hurt, I said. Now I'm just protecting myself. First National Bank was 2 blocks from Daniel's office, the same bank where Harold and I had opened our first joint account in 1981, where we deposited my paychecks for 23 years, where I deposited Harold's life insurance after he died. I walked in at 1:30, asked to speak to the manager. Christine Park was young, maybe 35, with a firm handshake and a no-nonsense manner. She led me to her office, a small room with glass walls overlooking the main floor. How can I help you today, Mrs. Morrison? I need a complete audit of my accounts, I said. All activity for the past 2 years, and I need to know if anyone else has been authorized to access them. Something shifted in her expression. Has there been suspicious activity? I don't know yet. That's what I'm asking you to find out. She turned to her computer, typed rapidly. Can I see your ID? I handed her my driver's license. She verified my information, pulled up account screens. Okay, Mrs. Morrison. You have 3 accounts with us, a checking account, a savings account, and a money market account. Is that correct? Yes. Let me check for authorized users. More typing. Then she stopped. Mrs. Morrison, there's a joint authorization on your checking account for Chloe Morrison Wade. When was this added? I don't know. I didn't add it. Christine clicked through more screens. It was added September 15th of this year. Authorization was submitted with a power of attorney document. September, 2 months after Chloe had cried in my living room about losing her house. What does that authorization allow her to do? Full account access. She can withdraw funds, transfer money, write checks against your account. My stomach dropped. Show me the transaction history. Christine printed out statements. 6 months of activity. I scanned the lines, my accountant's brain processing numbers quickly. There, a pattern. October 3rd, transfer to C. Wade. $750 October 31st. Transfer to C. Wade, $750. November 29th. Transfer to C. Wade, $750. December 15th. Transfer to C. Wade, $750. She's been taking $750 a month, I said quietly. Let me check the full history. Christine scrolled back further. Mrs. Morrison, there's also a withdrawal here from September 18th. Emergency withdrawal, $2,000. Do you recall making that? No. And here charges to Premier Furniture Gallery $1,200. Medical supply direct $450. Do you recognize those? I've never been to a furniture store. I don't use a medical supply company. Christine's expression was carefully neutral, but I saw the concern in her eyes. She'd seen this before. Mrs. Morrison, based on what you're telling me, this appears to be unauthorized use of your account. That's financial fraud. By my daughter. By anyone. It doesn't matter who they are. She leaned forward. I can flag your account immediately. Remove all external authorizations. Set it so only you can make changes in person with photo ID. Do it. I should mention the person who set up these authorizations will be notified of the change. I understand. Christine made the changes while I sat there. It took 15 minutes. When she finished, she printed a confirmation and handed it to me. Your account is now secured. All transfers have been stopped. Previous authorizations are revoked. She paused. Mrs. Morrison, I have to ask, do you want to file a police report? Not yet. These transactions total $8,500 over 6 months. That's not including the furniture and medical supply charges. This is a prosecutable crime. I know, but she's my daughter. I need to handle this my way first. Christine nodded slowly. I understand, but please know you have options. And if you change your mind, we have all the documentation. She walked me out to the lobby. At the door, she touched my arm gently. Mrs. Morrison, I see this more often than you'd think. Adult children taking advantage of elderly parents. You're doing the right thing by protecting yourself. I'm 68, I said. Not elderly. She smiled. You're right, I apologize. But my point stands, you're doing the right thing. I drove home with the bank statements on my passenger seat. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. The autumn sun was already low, casting long shadows across the street. Inside my house that I'd lived in for 38 years, I made tea and sat at the kitchen table. I spread out the statements, the revoked power of attorney, the new documents from Daniel. Everything was in order. My accounts were secured. My legal authority was restored. I was protected. So why did I feel like I'd lost something? I looked at the phone. I could call Chloe right now, confront her, demand explanations. But I knew what she'd say. She'd cry. She'd apologize. She'd tell me it was a misunderstanding, that she was going to pay it back, that Marcus had made her do it. She'd make it my fault for not trusting her. No, I wasn't ready to call her yet. I needed more information first. At 7:15 p.m., my phone rang. Tyler's name lit up the screen. Hi, honey, I said, trying to sound normal. Grandma? His voice was shaking. I need to tell you something. Can you talk? I sat up straighter. Of course. What's wrong? He paused. I heard him take a deep breath. I've been carrying this for a while and I don't know what to do with it, but after this weekend I can't keep quiet anymore. Tyler, you're scaring me. What happened? Christmas is coming up, right? And Mom asked me to come home early, help them set up. So I drove home Friday night. Another pause. Grandma, I heard them talking. Mom and Dad, in their bedroom. They didn't know I was home yet. I let myself in through the garage. My heart was pounding. What did you hear? They were talking about you, about your money, about, his voice broke, about making you seem confused, getting you into a nursing home. I closed my eyes. Go on. Dad said something about a plan for Christmas morning, that you'd drink tea and get confused and then they'd take you to the hospital and the doctor would say you weren't able to live alone anymore. He was crying now. Grandma, I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe I misunderstood. But then I recorded it. You recorded them. On my phone. I was standing in the hallway and I hit record. I knew nobody would believe me otherwise. Mom's always been so good at explaining things away, you know. But I have proof now. Tyler, I need you to send me that recording, right now. I will, but Grandma, there's more. This morning I asked Mom about it. Not directly, I just said something like, "Grandma seems sharp to me, and Mom got weird." She said appearances can be deceiving, and that sometimes elderly people hide their confusion well. Then she said you'd been forgetting things, repeating yourself. I haven't forgotten anything. I know that's what's so crazy. And then Dad pulled me aside and said I shouldn't upset your grandmother with questions. He said you're fragile, and we all need to be supportive during this difficult transition. What transition? That's what I said. He just gave me this look and said, "You'll understand soon." Tyler's voice hardened. "Grandma, I think they're planning to do something at Christmas, and I think it has to do with making you seem like you can't take care of yourself." I thought about that folder I'd signed, the power of attorney, the phrase deemed mentally incapacitated by a licensed physician. "Tyler, have your parents mentioned a doctor, someone named Patterson?" "Yeah, Dr. James Patterson. Dad's been talking about him for weeks. Says he's a specialist who understands the unique needs of elderly patients." He paused. "How did you know?" "Because I overheard your father on Thanksgiving. He mentioned Dr. Patterson, said something about him being willing to sign off on incompetency." Tyler was quiet for a moment. Then, "Grandma, what are you going to do?" "Protect myself. I've already been to my lawyer in the bank today. They can't access my money anymore, and they can't make medical decisions for me." "Does Mom know?" "Not yet. The bank will notify her tomorrow when she tries to make another transfer." "She's going to lose it." "Probably." "Grandma." His voice was small suddenly, like he was 12 again. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry my parents are doing this. I'm sorry you have to deal with this." "Tyler, honey, this is not your fault. You hear me? None of this is your fault." "But she's my mom, and I'm choosing you over her." "You're choosing right over wrong. That's different." He was crying again. "I love you, Grandma." "I love you too, sweetheart. Now send me that recording." And Tyler. "Yeah. Don't go back there for Christmas. Stay at school, or go to Emma's, anywhere but your parents' house. But what if they—" "I'll handle it. You just stay safe." After we hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen waiting. 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A video file from Tyler. I plugged in my headphones, pressed play. The audio was muffled at first. Tyler must have had his phone in his pocket. Then Chloe's voice, sharp and clear. "Did you get it, Marcus?" "Yeah, 3 milliliters. Patterson said that's enough for a 6 to 8 hour window of confusion. Nothing permanent, just enough to seem like early dementia. And the tea will hide the taste. He said chamomile and honey mask it completely. She won't notice anything." "What if she doesn't drink it?" "She will. It's her favorite mug, the blue one. She always drinks what I make her. And we'll be watching. If she doesn't finish it, I'll suggest she take medication with it. Either way, she gets the dose." There was a long pause. Then Chloe's voice quieter. "I can't believe we're doing this." "We don't have a choice." Marcus's voice was hard. "The credit cards are maxed. The bank sent another foreclosure notice yesterday. We're $87,000 in debt, Chloe. $87,000. And your mother is sitting on over $850,000 in assets while we're drowning." "But drugging her." "We're not hurting her. We're just creating a medical event. She goes to the ER confused and disoriented. Dr. Patterson does the evaluation, recommends full cognitive assessment. 2 weeks later, she's in a nice memory care facility. We have POA and we can start liquidating. The house alone will clear our debt and give us breathing room." "What about Tyler?" "Tyler has his college fund. He'll be fine. And honestly, Grace is 68 years old. How much longer is she going to live? 10 years, 15. She's alone in that big house, spending nothing, just letting money sit there. We're her family. We should be able to access that." Another pause. "She doesn't even need it all," Chloe said, but her voice sounded hollow. "She lives so simply. The memory care will be nice. She'll be taken care of." "Exactly. We're actually doing her a favor. She shouldn't be alone anyway at her age. This way she gets professional care and we get to secure our family's future. It's a win-win." When Christmas morning, it's perfect family holiday stressful time of year. Plenty of reasons why an elderly woman might get confused. We'll give her the tea around 10 a.m. By noon, she'll be showing symptoms. We'll suggest going to the ER just to be safe. Patterson will be on call. He'll do the initial assessment, flag cognitive concerns, recommend follow-up. After that, it's just paperwork. The recording ended. I sat there in the darkness, headphones still in the silence ringing in my ears. My daughter was planning to drug me, on Christmas morning, in my favorite blue mug, to steal everything Harold and I had built over 42 years of marriage. And she thought she was doing me a favor. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I saved the recording to 3 different places: my phone, my computer, a USB drive I locked in my filing cabinet. Then I called Daniel Westbrook's emergency number. He answered on the second ring. "Grace, I need to add something to my file," I said. "Evidence. And I think we need to involve the police." "What happened?" I told him about Tyler's recording, about Dr. James Patterson, about the plan for Christmas morning. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Grace, this is serious. This is conspiracy to commit elder abuse, possibly assault with a controlled substance. The doctor could lose his license. Your daughter could face criminal charges." "I know. Are you sure you want to go that route? Once we involve law enforcement, there's no going back." I thought about Chloe at age 5 in a pink dress picking dandelions in the backyard. Chloe at 12 crying because a boy had been mean to her, and I'd held her and told her she was worth more than his opinion. Chloe at 25 walking down the aisle in a white dress, and Harold squeezing my hand as we gave her away. Then I thought about her voice on that recording. She's alone in that big house, spending nothing, just letting money sit there. We should be able to access that. "I'm sure," I said. Daniel called me back at 7 a.m. the next morning. "I've been thinking about this all night," he said. "Before we go to the police, we need more evidence. The recording is powerful, but we need to establish a pattern, a timeline. We need to show this wasn't a moment of desperation, it was calculated." "What do you suggest?" "I have a colleague, Frank Delgado. He's a private investigator, retired LAPD detective. He specializes in financial crimes and elder abuse cases. I'd like to hire him to do a full background investigation on Marcus and Chloe." "How much will that cost?" "Don't worry about the cost right now. If we end up taking this to court, these expenses become part of the case. And Grace, if half of what I suspect is true, you'll want this documentation." Frank Delgado arrived at my house at 10 a.m. He was 58, stocky, with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything: the photos on my mantel, the neat stack of mail on the counter, the way my hand stayed steady when I shook his. "Mrs. Morrison," he said, settling into Harold's old armchair. "Daniel briefed me on the situation. I need to ask you some questions. Some of them might be uncomfortable. Go ahead. How much money have you given your daughter in the past 2 years?" I pulled out my ledger, showed him the entries. His eyebrows rose. "That's $42,500 in documented loans, plus the bank transfers I didn't authorize, another $8,500. So we're at $51,000 minimum." He made notes. "Did she ever repay any of this?" "No." "Did she give you promissory notes? Any written agreements?" "No. She's my daughter. I trusted her." Frank's expression softened slightly. "I understand. But from a legal standpoint, without documentation, she could argue these were gifts, not loans." "They weren't gifts. Every time she promised repayment." "Did she say that in writing? Text messages, emails?" I thought back. "Some texts, maybe. I'd have to look." "Please do. We need everything." He flipped through his notebook. "Tell me about Marcus. What do you know about his work history?" "He was a real estate broker. Lost his license 3 years ago, something about a client complaint." "Do you know the details?" "No. Chloe said it was a misunderstanding. Paperwork errors." Frank wrote something down. "I'll look into that. What's he been doing since—" "He calls himself an independent consultant. I don't know what that means." "Neither do most people who use that title." Frank tapped his pen against the notebook. "Mrs. Morrison, Daniel mentioned you overheard a conversation at Thanksgiving. Can you tell me exactly what Marcus said?" I recited it from memory. I'd replayed those words so many times they were burned into my brain. Her assets are substantial. The house alone is worth $450 plus savings investments. We have the POA. Once we establish incompetency, we can move her into memory care within 60 days. Frank's jaw tightened. "He mentioned a lawyer. Said the lawyer said it's clean. Do you know who that might be?" "No." "I'll find out." He stood. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm going to be honest with you. What your daughter and son-in-law are planning is textbook financial elder abuse. The drugging component elevates it to criminal assault. The involvement of a doctor, if this Dr. Patterson is really conspiring with them, adds medical fraud. This is serious." "I know. I need about a week to compile a full report. I'll look into Marcus's background, his financial situation, any legal history. I'll track down Dr. Patterson, see what his connection to Marcus is. I'll document everything your daughter has taken from you. He met my eyes. This is going to get ugly. Are you prepared for that? I'm already living in ugly, I said quietly. I'm just ready to do something about it. After Frank left, I sat down with my phone and scrolled through 2 years of text messages with Chloe. My fingers moved slowly. I wasn't as fast with technology as younger people, but I knew how to search. There, May 2023, Chloe, Mom. I hate asking, but we really need help with the kitchen renovation. $8,500. I promise we'll pay you back by August. Me. Of course, sweetheart. I'll write a check today. Chloe, you're the best mom in the world. I don't know what we'd do without you. August came and went. No repayment. No mention of it. September 2023, Chloe, Mom. I'm in tears. The bank is foreclosing. We need $22,000 to catch up on the mortgage. I know it's a lot. I know. But we're desperate. We'll lose everything. Tyler will have to change schools. Me, come over tomorrow. We'll figure this out. Chloe, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're saving our lives. I screenshotted every message, sent them all to Frank. Then I did something I'd been avoiding. I looked up Dr. James Patterson. Google search, Dr. James Patterson, California physician. The first result was a medical practice in Riverside, Patterson Family Medicine Comprehensive Care for all ages. I clicked through. Professional website. Photo of a man in his 40s, clean cut, smiling beside a stethoscope. His bio said he'd graduated from UC Irvine Medical School in 2005, specialized in geriatric care, had been practicing for 18 years. There was a contact form. I almost filled it out. What would I even say, but stopped. Instead, I searched James Patterson Marcus Wade. Nothing. James Patterson Marcus Wade related. Nothing. James Patterson California family. And there it was. Buried on page 3 of the search results, a wedding announcement from 2007. Wade Patterson wedding, Marcus Anthony. Wade wed Jennifer Ann Patterson at St. Catherine's Church in Riverside. The bride is the daughter of Dr. Robert Patterson and Mrs. Susan Patterson of Riverside. The groom is the son of Jennifer, Marcus's first wife. I vaguely remembered Chloe mentioning that Marcus had been married before briefly when he was younger. Jennifer Patterson. Dr. James Patterson. I kept searching. Found a genealogy website. Patterson family tree. James Patterson, born 1979. Sister Jennifer Patterson, born 1982. Dr. James Patterson was Marcus's ex-brother-in-law. My hands started shaking. This wasn't some random doctor Marcus had found. This was family. Someone Marcus had a pre-existing relationship with. Someone who might be willing to bend the rules, falsify medical records, lie about a patient's competency because Marcus used to be married to his sister. I called Frank immediately. Mrs. Morrison, Dr. Patterson is Marcus's ex-brother-in-law, I said. His first wife's brother. Silence. Then, that's the connection. That's how Marcus knew he could compromise him. What do we do? Document everything you just found. Send me the links. I'll dig deeper, see if Patterson has any history of ethical violations, malpractice complaints, anything that suggests he'd be willing to participate in fraud. He paused. Mrs. Morrison, this actually helps our case. It shows premeditation. Marcus didn't just find a random corrupt doctor, he cultivated a relationship with someone he could manipulate. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table feeling like the walls were closing in. This wasn't a moment of desperation. This was a plan. Maybe months in the making. Maybe longer. How long had they been setting this up? The call came 3 days later. Tuesday afternoon, 2:47 p.m. Chloe's name on my phone screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Mom, her voice was tight, angry. What the hell did you do? Hello, Chloe, how are you? Don't play games with me. The bank called. They said you removed me from your accounts. They canceled all the transfers. Mom, what is going on? I went to the bank and secured my accounts. That's all. That's all? Her voice went up an octave. Mom, those transfers were helping us. We had an agreement. We had no agreement. You had access to my accounts without my knowledge, and you were stealing from me. Stealing? I'm your daughter. You said you wanted to help us. I did help you. I gave you $42,500. You promised to pay it back. You never did. Silence. I could hear her breathing sharp and quick. We were going to pay you back. We've been going through a rough time. You've been going through a rough time for 2 years, Chloe. At some point it stops being bad luck and starts being bad choices. I cannot believe you're doing this. What, you went to some lawyer and they convinced you your own daughter is stealing from you? Is that it? Someone got in your head and now you don't trust your own family. Chloe, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I kept my voice calm. I know about the power of attorney. I know what I actually signed on Easter. I know it wasn't insurance paperwork. She went very quiet. I know about the $750 monthly transfers, I continued. I know about the furniture store charges and the medical supply company. I know about Dr. James Patterson, and I know what you're planning to do on Christmas morning. What are you talking about? The tea, Chloe, the chamomile tea in my favorite blue mug, the 3 milliliters that will make me confused for 6 to 8 hours. I heard her breath catch. I don't know what you think you know. I have a recording. Tyler recorded you and Marcus discussing the plan. I have your voices clear as day talking about drugging me and having me declared incompetent so you can take everything Harold and I built. The silence stretched so long I thought she might have hung up. Then Tyler wouldn't do that. Tyler loves me, and he was horrified by what you're planning. Mom, listen to me. No, you listen. The power of attorney is revoked. Your access to my bank accounts is gone. I've changed my will. You inherit nothing. If you try to contest it, you forfeit any claim to anything. It's over, Chloe. You can't do this. I already have. Mom, please, you don't understand. We're in trouble. Real trouble. The bank is foreclosing. We're drowning in debt. I made some mistakes. Okay, I admit it. But we need help. Then get help, but not from me. Not anymore. We're family. Family doesn't drug each other. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't try to have their own mother declared incompetent and locked away in a nursing home to steal her life savings. She started crying. I wasn't going to lock you away. It wouldn't have been like that. Mom, we were going to take care of you. By stealing my house, my savings, everything Harold left me. You don't need it all. You're alone in that big house. You never spend anything. You're just sitting on it while we're losing everything. And there it was. The truth underneath all the tears and excuses. She didn't think I deserved what I had. Chloe, I said quietly, I'm going to give you one chance. Only one. You can leave Marcus, file for divorce, cooperate with my lawyer and tell him everything, the plan, the doctor, the debt, all of it. If you do that, I will help you rebuild your life. I'll help you find a place to live, help you get back on your feet. But you have to leave him, and you have to tell the truth. You want me to divorce my husband. I want you to leave the man who convinced you to drug your own mother. Marcus didn't convince me of anything. Then you did this on your own. You came up with the plan yourself. She hesitated. We both... Mom, you don't understand what we've been going through. I understand that you made a choice. Now I'm giving you another choice. Leave Marcus and tell the truth and I'll help you. Stay with him and you're on your own. I can't believe this. I can't believe you're making me choose between my husband and my mother. I'm not making you choose Chloe. I'm telling you the consequences of the choice you already made. She was crying harder now. Mom, please. You have until Friday to decide. That's 3 days. After that, the decision is made for you. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I set the phone down on the table and stared at it, half expecting her to call back immediately. She didn't. The house was very quiet. Too quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, the creak of the old floorboards settling the sound of my own breathing. I'd just given my daughter an ultimatum. My only child. The little girl I'd rocked to sleep, taught to ride a bike, sent off to college with tears in my eyes. And I'd meant every word. He showed up 2 nights later. Thursday evening, 8:15 p.m. 10 p.m., I was in the living room reading a library book about watercolor techniques when I heard a car door slam in my driveway. I looked out the window. Marcus's black SUV. He got out, slammed the door again intentionally loud, and walked up to my front door. I didn't open it. Instead, I went to the door, left the chain lock on, and opened it just a crack. Grace. He was smiling, but it didn't reach his eyes. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about, Marcus. Come on, don't be like that. This is all a big misunderstanding. Just let me in. We'll have coffee, talk this through like adults. No, his smile faded. Grace, you're making a mistake. A big mistake. Chloe is devastated. She's been crying for 2 days. You're tearing this family apart over some paranoid delusion. I have a recording of you planning to drug me. His face went very still. That's impossible. Tyler was home early. He heard everything. You talking about Dr. Patterson, about the tea, about putting me in memory care so you could liquidate my assets. I paused. 3 milliliters in chamomile tea. That's what you said. Marcus's expression shifted. The friendly mask dropped completely. What was underneath was cold calculating. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, let's talk about that. You want to know the truth? Fine, here's the truth. Chloe and I are $87,000 in debt. $87,000. Credit cards, home equity loan, business loans that went nowhere. We're losing the house. The bank is foreclosing in 45 days. That's not my problem. It is your problem because you could fix it with one check. You have over $800,000 in assets. $800,000. And you're living alone in this big house, spending maybe $2,000 a month, letting the rest just sit there. You don't need it all. You don't even use it. It's mine. Harold and I earned it. Harold's dead. The words came out harsh, ugly. He's been dead for 3 years, and you're sitting on his money like some dragon on a pile of gold while your own daughter is drowning. My daughter is drowning because she made bad choices, and because she married a man who gambles away their money. His eyes narrowed. What did you say? I know about the horse racing Marcus. The $60,000 you lost last year at Santa Anita and Del Mar. The reason you really lost your real estate license, it wasn't paperwork errors, was it? It was fraud. You stole from a client. You don't know what you're talking about. I hired a private investigator. He pulled your financial records, your credit score, your tax liens. I know everything. Marcus took a step closer to the door. The chain lock was all that separated us. You fucking bitch, he said quietly. Walter, I called over my shoulder. You can come out now. Walter Hayes emerged from my kitchen, all 6'2" of him, former Marine, still broad-shouldered at 72. He was holding his phone up, recording. I heard everything, Marcus, Walter said calmly. I've been documenting this conversation. I suggest you leave. Now. Marcus looked between us, his face flushed with anger. This isn't over. Yes, it is, I said. I filed for a restraining order. You'll be served tomorrow. If you come within 50 yards of my property after that, you'll be arrested. Chloe is my wife. You can't keep me from my wife's family. Chloe is welcome to visit me any time. You are not. Ever again. Marcus pointed at me through the crack in the door. You're going to regret this. When Chloe and I are homeless, when Tyler has to drop out of college because we can't help him anymore, when your grandson is asking why his grandmother destroyed his family. Remember this moment? I'll remember, I said. I'll remember that his family destroyed itself. Marcus left. I watched his taillights disappear down the street before I closed the door. My legs gave out. I sank onto the couch, shaking. Walter sat beside me, steady and calm. You okay? No, I said honestly. But I will be. He stayed until 10 p.m. drinking tea in my kitchen, telling me stories about his grandkids to distract me. When he finally went home, I locked every door, checked every window, and set the alarm system, something I hadn't done in years. Then I called Daniel and sent him Walter's video. This is good, he said after watching it. This is very good. He's threatening you, acknowledging the debt, and basically confessing on camera. Grace, I'm going to recommend we take this to the police tomorrow. Tomorrow. We have enough now. The recording from Tyler the bank records Marcus's threats on video, and Frank should have his report ready by morning. It's time to make this official. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak and groan of the house. Every car that passed on the street made my heart race. At 3 a.m. I got up and stood in the doorway of Chloe's old bedroom. I hadn't changed it much since she moved out 20 years ago. Her high school trophies were still on the shelf. Debate team, student council, academic excellence. There was a photo on the dresser, Chloe at 16 braces and all hugging me at her sweet 16 party. She'd been a good kid. Ambitious, smart, maybe a little spoiled. We'd given her everything we could, but fundamentally good. When had that changed? Or had I just never seen who she really was? Detective Sarah Mills was 40-something with short dark hair and eyes that had seen too much. We met at the police station Friday morning, Daniel Frank and I sitting across from her in a small conference room. "Mrs. Morrison," she said, "I've reviewed the materials your lawyer sent over. The recordings, the financial documents, the video from 2 nights ago. I have some questions." "Of course. Let's start with the power of attorney. You signed this document voluntarily." "I signed it, yes, but I was told it was insurance paperwork. My daughter deliberately misrepresented what I was signing." "But you did read it before signing." I hesitated. "I skimmed it. She said it was standard, that my doctor had recommended it." "Dr. Foster." "That's what Chloe told me. But when I asked Dr. Foster about it later, she said she'd never recommended any such thing." Detective Mills made notes. "And the bank transfers you authorized Chloe to have access to your accounts." "No, she submitted the power of attorney to the bank and used it to add herself without my knowledge." "When did you discover this?" "Last Monday, when I went to the bank and requested an audit." "And you're saying she took approximately $8,500 over 6 months, plus $42,500 in loans she never repaid, plus charges to stores I never visited." Detective Mills reviewed Frank's report, flipping through pages of financial records. "Mr. Delgado, you've documented quite a bit here. Walk me through Marcus Wade's background." Frank leaned forward. "Marcus Wade lost his real estate license in 2019 after a client filed a complaint alleging he'd misappropriated funds from an escrow account. The case was settled quietly. Marcus returned the money, the client dropped the complaint, and the real estate board suspended his license for 3 years. He's eligible to reapply next year, but hasn't." "What's he been doing for income?" "That's where it gets interesting. He's formed 4 LLCs in the past 3 years, all defunct. He claims to be an independent consultant, but I couldn't find evidence of any legitimate business activity. What I did find was extensive gambling, horse racing primarily. He's a regular at Santa Anita and Del Mar tracks. Lost approximately $60,000 last year alone." "How did you confirm that?" "I pulled records from a civil case where Marcus was subpoenaed as a witness. The case involved a betting ring and Marcus's records came up. He wasn't charged with anything, but the financial documents were part of discovery." Frank slid another folder across the table. "He's also got $15,000 in tax liens and a credit score of 5 at 80. Detective Mills examined the documents. "So he's financially desperate." "Extremely." "And the connection to Dr. Patterson. Dr. James Patterson is Marcus's ex-brother-in-law. Marcus was married to Patterson's sister Jennifer from 2006 to 2009. Divorced, no children. But they maintained contact. I found them both attending the same family events as recently as last year." "So Patterson isn't just a random doctor Marcus found. They have a personal relationship." "Exactly. And Patterson has something interesting in his background." Frank pulled out another page. "In 2018, Patterson was investigated by the medical board for improperly prescribing controlled substances. A patient alleged that Patterson had prescribed Ambien and other sleep medications without proper examination. The case was dismissed due to lack of evidence, but it's on his record." Detective Mills looked up. "Ambien, that's what you think they were planning to use on Mrs. Morrison?" "It fits," Frank said. "Small dose of Ambien in tea would cause confusion, disorientation, memory issues, all symptoms that could be mistaken for dementia in an elderly patient. It would metabolize quickly enough that by the time more extensive testing was done, it might not show up. And Patterson would be the one doing the initial evaluation at the ER." "According to the recording, yes." Detective Mills turned to me. "Mrs. Morrison, have you ever been evaluated by Dr. Patterson?" "No, I've never met him." "Has anyone suggested you see him?" "Marcus mentioned him once at Thanksgiving, said he was a specialist who understood elderly patients. At the time, I didn't think anything of it." She made more notes. Then she played Tyler's recording again, listening carefully to every word. When it ended, she sat back. "This is elder abuse, attempted fraud, conspiracy, possibly attempted assault with a controlled substance, though we'd need to prove they actually obtained the drug." She looked at Daniel. "The question is whether Mrs. Morrison wants to press charges." Everyone turned to me. "If I press charges," I said slowly, "what happens to Chloe?" "That depends on what role she played and whether she cooperates. If she was the primary instigator, she could face felony charges, elder abuse, fraud, theft. If she was coerced by Marcus and agrees to testify against him, the DA might offer a plea deal. Probation Restitution Community Service. Would she go to jail? Possibly, but more likely if she cooperates, she'd avoid jail time. I looked at Daniel. What do you think? I think you need to protect yourself, he said quietly. And I think Marcus Wade is dangerous. He's desperate. He's got a gambling problem. He's already tried to threaten you. If you don't stop him now, he'll try again. And Chloe made her choices. She's an adult, but maybe facing consequences is what she needs to wake up. I turned back to Detective Mills. What do I have to do? Give a formal statement. Sign the complaint. We'll need all the documentation, the recordings, the financial records, everything. Then we'll bring in Chloe and Marcus for questioning. Will they arrest them? Probably not immediately. We'll question them first, see if either of them is willing to talk. If we have enough evidence, we'll present it to the DA and let them decide whether to file charges. I took a deep breath. Okay, let's do it. It took 3 hours to give my full statement. Detective Mills was thorough, asking about every detail: when I first noticed money missing when I signed the power of attorney, what I overheard at Thanksgiving, what Marcus said at my door. By the time I finished, it was 2 p.m. and I was exhausted. Mrs. Morrison, Detective Mills said as we were wrapping up, I need to ask you something. Do you feel safe at home? I have an alarm system. My neighbor Walter is keeping an eye out. But do you feel safe? I thought about lying. Then no, not completely. I'm going to have a patrol car drive by your house a few times each night. And here's my direct number. She handed me a card. If Marcus shows up again, if anything feels wrong, call me immediately. Don't hesitate. I took the card, tucked it in my purse. As Daniel drove me home, he said, "You did the right thing." Then why do I feel so terrible? Because she's your daughter, and because this is going to get worse before it gets better. The call came Monday morning. Detective Mills. Mrs. Morrison, we brought in Chloe and Marcus for questioning yesterday afternoon. My stomach dropped. And Marcus lawyered up immediately, refused to say anything. But Chloe, she paused. Chloe broke down. She confessed to everything. I sat down slowly. Everything. The power of attorney deception, the unauthorized bank transfers, the plan to drug you. She gave us details we didn't even have, told us Marcus had already obtained the Ambien from Dr. Patterson, that it was hidden in their bedroom. We got a warrant, searched the house, found it. So it's real. They actually had the drugs. Yes, 3 vials of liquid Ambien each, containing approximately 3 milliliters, exactly what was mentioned in the recording. I closed my eyes. It was one thing to hear them plan it, another thing entirely to know they'd actually gone through with obtaining the drugs. What happens now? The DA is filing charges. Marcus is being charged with conspiracy to commit elder abuse fraud and attempted assault with a controlled substance. Dr. Patterson is being charged as an accessory. We're coordinating with the medical board to suspend his license. And Chloe? What about Chloe? She's cooperating. She's agreed to testify against Marcus and Dr. Patterson. In exchange, the DA is offering a plea deal: 5 years probation restitution of all money taken, 500 hours of community service mandatory counseling. No jail time. Is that standard for a first offense where the defendant shows genuine remorse and cooperates fully? Yes. The DA believes Chloe was manipulated by Marcus. She's not excusing what your daughter did, but she's taking the circumstances into account. When does this all happen? Arraignments are next week. The trial, if Marcus doesn't take a plea deal, would probably be in 3 to 4 months. She paused. Mrs. Morrison, Chloe asked if she could see you. I told her I'd ask. My chest tightened. I don't know. You don't have to decide now. Think about it. But if you do agree to see her, I'd recommend doing it at my office with me present. Neutral ground. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, staring at nothing. Chloe had confessed. She'd told the truth. She was cooperating. Maybe that meant something. Maybe it meant she could still be saved, or maybe it just meant she was trying to save herself. I agreed to see her. Wednesday afternoon, 3 p.m. at the police station. Daniel came with me. We sat in the same conference room where I'd given my statement, waiting. When Chloe walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked thin. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup. Her eyes were red and swollen. She was wearing jeans and an old sweatshirt, nothing like the designer clothes she usually wore. She looked like my daughter again. Not the polished, perfect woman who'd been taking my money, but the real Chloe underneath all that. "Mom," she whispered and started crying. I didn't stand up, didn't move, just looked at her. Detective Mills gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Chloe." Chloe sat across from me, her hands shaking. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I didn't say anything. "I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix what I did. But I need you to know I never wanted to hurt you. We were so desperate, and Marcus kept saying you wouldn't even notice the money that you had more than you needed, that we were family, and family helps each other." She wiped her eyes. "I know those are excuses. I know I should have said no. I should have protected you. You're my mother. You raised me. You taught me right from wrong. And I did this anyway." "Why?" My voice came out hoarse. "Why did you do it?" "Because I was scared. We're losing everything, Mom. The house, our savings, everything we built. And Marcus kept saying if we just had a little help, if we could just catch up, we'd be fine. He made it sound so reasonable, so logical." She looked down at her hands. "But it wasn't reasonable. It was theft. It was abuse. And I went along with it because I was more afraid of losing my house than I was of losing you." The words hung in the air between us. "The tea," I said quietly. "You were going to drug me." "I know. God, I know. Mom, I didn't want to. Marcus said it wouldn't hurt you, that it would just make you confused for a few hours, that it was the only way to get you the help you needed. I don't need help. I'm fine. I'm 68 years old, and I'm completely competent." "I know that now, I know. But Marcus kept saying you were forgetting things, repeating yourself, that you were in denial about your cognitive decline. He showed me articles about elderly people who don't recognize their own symptoms. He made me believe—" She broke off, crying harder. "He made me believe I was helping you. By stealing my house, my savings, everything Harold left me. We were going to take care of you. We were going to put you in a nice place. Against my will, without my consent, Chloe, you were going to lock me away in a nursing home so you could take everything I own. I know." She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "I know. It's unforgivable. What I did is unforgivable." We sat in silence for a long moment. Detective Mills stayed quiet in the corner, just watching. Finally, I said, "Are you leaving Marcus?" Chloe looked up, her eyes red. "I already did. I filed for divorce 2 days ago. I moved out. I'm staying with Janet." Janet, her best friend from college. Good. At least she had someone. "Where's Tyler?" "Still at school. I told him I'm sorry. I told him I don't expect him to forgive me. He said he needs time to process everything." More tears. "Mom, I've destroyed everything. My marriage, my relationship with my son, my relationship with you. And I deserve it. I deserve all of it." "Yes," I said quietly. "You do." She flinched but nodded. "But, I continued, and she looked up. "People can change, if they're willing to do the work." "What do you mean?" "Detective Mills told me about the plea deal, probation, restitution, counseling. I'm taking it. I'm cooperating with everything. I'm testifying against Marcus. I'm going to pay you back every penny, even if it takes me the rest of my life." "It's not about the money, Chloe." "Then what is it about?" "It's about trust. It's about knowing that my own daughter tried to take away my autonomy, my home, my life. You didn't just steal money from me. You tried to steal my dignity." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to complete your probation. You're going to go to counseling. Real counseling, not just court-mandated. You're going to get a job and start rebuilding your life. And you're going to stay away from Marcus permanently. I will. I promise. And maybe if you do all of that, if you show me over time that you've actually changed, maybe we can start rebuilding our relationship. But it's going to take years, Chloe. Not months. Years." "I understand." I stood up. "I need to go now." "Mom, wait." She stood too. Can I hug you?" I looked at her. This woman who used to be my little girl, who I'd loved more than anything in the world, who'd betrayed me in the worst possible way. "No," I said quietly. "Not yet, but maybe someday." She nodded, more tears falling. Okay. Thank you for seeing me." I left with Daniel. In the parking lot, he asked, "How do you feel?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "Empty, sad, but also relieved maybe, like I did what I needed to do." You did. You protected yourself, and you gave her a chance to earn her way back. That's more than a lot of people would do. She's my daughter. What else could I do? 2 weeks passed. Marcus's arraignment happened. He pled not guilty, hired an expensive lawyer, somehow was released on bail. Chloe's plea deal was accepted. Dr. Patterson's license was suspended pending investigation. And Christmas was coming. Tyler called me the first week of December. Grandma, what are you doing for Christmas? I haven't thought about it. You should come to campus. Emma and I are staying here. Her family's in Maine. It's too far to travel. We're going to make dinner in the dorm kitchen. Nothing fancy, but you shouldn't be alone. Tyler, honey, I'm fine. Please, I want to see you. I miss you. My throat tightened. I miss you too. Then come, please. So I drove 3 hours to State University on Christmas Eve. Tyler and Emma had decorated their tiny dorm common room with paper snowflakes and string lights. They'd borrowed a hot plate and were attempting to cook a turkey breast and mashed potatoes. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely wonderful. Emma was lovely, sweet, smart, studying biology. She talked about medical school, about her research on infectious diseases, about how she and Tyler had met in a calculus study group. Your grandson is brilliant, she told me, smiling at Tyler. He helped me pass calc when I was convinced I'd fail. That's because you're a terrible math student, Tyler teased. I'm a biology student. I'm not supposed to be good at math. They bickered good-naturedly while cooking. I sat at their small table drinking hot chocolate, watching them move around each other with easy familiarity. Tyler was happy. Despite everything with his parents, he was okay. Over dinner, slightly dry turkey and lumpy mashed potatoes that tasted perfect anyway. Tyler said, Grandma, I want you to know something. I don't regret recording that conversation. I know it hurt Mom, and I know things are complicated now, but you didn't deserve what they were planning to do to you. I know, honey. And I'm not going to let anyone make me feel guilty for protecting you. I reached across the table, squeezed his hand. You're a good man, Tyler. Your grandfather would be so proud of you. He smiled. I wish I'd known him better. He was a lot like you. Smart, thoughtful, fiercely loyal to the people he loved. We talked late into the night about Harold, about my job at Morrison Manufacturing, about Tyler's plans for after graduation. Emma fell asleep on the couch around midnight, and Tyler covered her with a blanket tenderly. You love her, I said quietly. Yeah. He looked at Emma with such softness in his eyes. I'm going to marry her someday, if she'll have me. She will. I stayed in a hotel that night, but came back Christmas morning. Tyler and Emma had gotten me presents, a watercolor set from Emma, a chess book from Tyler. Walter's been destroying you lately, hasn't he? Tyler said with a grin. That man is ruthless. I need strategies. We spent Christmas Day together, the three of us. It wasn't the Christmas I'd imagined, but it was real and warm and full of love. And that was enough. January came cold and sharp. I woke up on New Year's Day in my own bed in my own house, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. The restraining order against Marcus was in place. Chloe was living with Janet, working 2 jobs, one at Target, one doing bookkeeping for a small accounting firm that had taken pity on her situation. She called me once a week, brief conversations where she updated me on her progress. I listened but didn't offer much in return. Not yet. Tyler returned to campus after the holidays. Emma with him, they'd become inseparable. Before he left, he hugged me tight in my driveway. You're going to be okay, Grandma, he said. I know I am. And if you need anything at all, you call me. I will. Now go ace your classes, he grinned. Yes, ma'am. Walter came over that afternoon with his chess set. We played 3 games on my kitchen table. He won 2. I won 1 by sacrificing my queen, a move he didn't see coming. You're getting better, he admitted grudgingly. Or you're getting worse, he laughed. Probably both. Between moves, he asked, how are you doing? Really, honestly, I'm okay. Some days are harder than others, but I'm okay. That business with your daughter, that's rough. Yeah. You know, my son and I didn't speak for 5 years once. He thought I was too controlling, too demanding. Said I never approved of anything he did. Walter moved his knight. He was probably right. What happened? His daughter, my granddaughter, got sick. Leukemia. He called me from the hospital crying. Said he didn't know what to do. I drove 12 hours straight to get to them. He looked up from the board. Sometimes it takes a crisis to remind people what matters. Did she survive, your granddaughter? She did. She's 15 now. Plays soccer straight A's, pain in the ass like her old man. He smiled. But yeah, Marcus and I worked things out. Took time, though. Took him proving he'd changed. That's what I told Chloe. That maybe someday we could rebuild, but she has to do the work. That's fair. More than fair. He captured my bishop. Check. I studied the board, found my escape. You're assuming I won't see that coming. Hope springs eternal. We played until dark. When Walter left, I made myself dinner chicken soup from scratch the way Harold used to like it. I ate at the kitchen table reading a library book about famous chess matches. The house was quiet, but it was my house, my quiet, and that was everything. Frank called me in mid-January with an update on his investigation. Mrs. Morrison, I've found something interesting. Marcus Wade has done this before. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Not exactly this, not the drugging, but the pattern of targeting elderly relatives for money. I found a woman named Patricia Delgado. She's 73 lives in Riverside. In 2016, Marcus befriended her after her husband died. She was a friend of his mother's. And he convinced her to sign a power of attorney, told her it was for estate planning. Then he started transferring money out of her accounts. She caught him after he'd taken $45,000. Did she report it? No. He convinced her it was a misunderstanding, said he'd borrowed the money with her permission but forgot to mention it. He paid her back over 6 months probably from some other scheme, and she dropped it. She was embarrassed, didn't want her family to know she'd been duped. How did you find her? I was running background checks on Marcus's known associates, and her name came up. I contacted her, explained who I was and why I was asking. She was reluctant at first, but when I told her what Marcus had tried to do to you, she agreed to talk. Is she willing to testify? She is now. She said she regrets not reporting him in 2016. She thinks if she had, maybe he wouldn't have tried it again with you. It's not her fault. I told her that, but she wants to help. Detective Mills is bringing her in next week to give a formal statement. This changed things. If Marcus had done this before, it showed a pattern. Premeditation. It made the case against him much stronger. Frank, thank you. This is huge. There's more. I've been digging into Dr. Patterson's background. Remember that 2018 investigation about improper prescriptions? Yes. I found the patient who filed the complaint. Her name is Ruth Hammond. She's 67 lives in Riverside. She says Dr. Patterson prescribed her Ambien without ever examining her properly. She just called the office complaining of insomnia, and he called in a prescription same day. That's not standard practice. No, Ambien is a controlled substance. Doctors are supposed to evaluate patients in person before prescribing it, especially to elderly patients. Ruth said Dr. Patterson did this repeatedly. She'd call, he'd prescribe, no questions asked. She got concerned when she realized she'd been on it for 2 years and he'd never once checked in on her. Why wasn't he punished? The medical board investigated but couldn't prove he'd violated specific protocols. He claimed she was an established patient, that he had evaluated her initially. It was his word against hers. The board issued a warning but didn't suspend his license. So he has a history of being loose with controlled substances. Exactly. And that makes it more plausible that he'd be willing to provide Marcus with Ambien for illegal purposes. I sat back in my chair processing all of this. Marcus isn't just desperate. He's a predator. Yes, and the DA needs to know that. This isn't a one-time mistake, it's a pattern of behavior. The preliminary hearing was set for late February. This wasn't the trial yet, just a hearing to determine if there was enough evidence to proceed. But it would be the first time I'd see Marcus since that night at my door. Daniel drove me to the courthouse. We sat in the gallery waiting. Tyler had wanted to come, but I'd told him no, he needed to focus on school, not sit through legal proceedings. Marcus arrived with his lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. He'd cleaned up for court navy suit tie, hair combed back. He looked respectable, harmless. He saw me across the courtroom and smiled. Actually smiled. I looked away. Chloe arrived separately with the prosecutor. She looked small, nervous. She was wearing a simple dress, no jewelry. When she saw me, she gave a tiny nod. I didn't return it. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Hamilton, called the hearing to order. We're here for the preliminary hearing in the matter of the People versus Marcus Anthony Wade. Mr. Wade, you're charged with conspiracy to commit elder abuse, attempted fraud, and attempted assault with a controlled substance. How do you plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. Marcus's voice was steady, confident. "The people may present their evidence." The prosecutor, a young man named David Chen, stood. "Your Honor, the people will show that Mr. Wade, in conspiracy with Dr. James Patterson, planned and attempted to execute a scheme to defraud his mother-in-law, Grace Morrison, of her substantial assets by drugging her and having her falsely declared mentally incompetent." For the next 2 hours, Prosecutor Chen laid out the case. He played Tyler's recording. Hearing those voices again in that courtroom made my stomach turn. He presented the bank records showing unauthorized transfers. He showed the vials of Ambien found in Marcus and Chloe's bedroom. Then he called Chloe to the stand. She was sworn in, her hand shaking on the Bible. She sat in the witness box, not looking at Marcus. "Ms. Morrison Wade," Chen began, "can you describe your relationship with the defendant?" "He's my husband, or he was. We're divorcing." "And how long were you married?" 12 years. "During that time, were you aware of your husband's financial situation?" "Not entirely. Marcus handled most of our finances, but I knew we had debt, credit cards mostly, and the mortgage was getting hard to pay." "When did you first become aware that your husband wanted to access your mother's money?" Chloe swallowed hard. "About a year ago. He started saying things like, 'Your mom has so much money just sitting there, and she's all alone, she doesn't need it all.' At first I thought he was just venting, but then it became more specific." "What do you mean by more specific?" "He started asking me to borrow money from her. Small amounts at first, then larger. He'd say we'd pay her back, but we never did. And she never asked for it back, so he kept pushing me to ask for more." "Did there come a time when borrowing wasn't enough?" "Yes, last spring. We were facing foreclosure. I asked my mom for $22,000. She gave it to us, but even that wasn't enough. Our debt was too big." "What did the defendant suggest then?" Chloe's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "He said we needed a long-term solution, that my mom was getting older and would probably need care soon anyway. He said if we could establish that she was incompetent, we could use her power of attorney to manage her assets, sell her house, and use the money to save ourselves." "Did you agree to this plan?" "At first I said no. I said my mom was sharp. There was no way a doctor would declare her incompetent." She paused. "That's when Marcus told me about Dr. Patterson." "Who is Dr. Patterson?" "My ex-brother-in-law, Marcus's first wife's brother. They'd stayed in touch after the divorce." "And what did the defendant say about Dr. Patterson?" "He said Patterson would help us, that he'd be willing to sign off on an evaluation declaring my mom incompetent if we could just create the right circumstances." "What circumstances?" Chloe closed her eyes. "Make her seem confused, disoriented, like she was having cognitive decline." "And how did the defendant propose to do that?" "He said Patterson could provide something that would make her confused temporarily, something that would look like dementia symptoms. Then we'd take her to the ER, Patterson would evaluate her, and he'd recommend further testing and possibly placement in a memory care facility." "Did the defendant ever mention a specific substance?" "Ambien. He said Patterson had prescribed Ambien before for this kind of thing, that it was safe but would cause temporary confusion and memory issues." "And did you agree to this plan?" Tears were streaming down Chloe's face now. "Yes. God help me, yes. I convinced myself we were helping her, that she'd be better off in a facility where she had round-the-clock care. But that was a lie. We were helping ourselves." Marcus's lawyer stood. "Objection. The witness is characterizing intent." "Sustained," Judge Hamilton said. "Ms. Morrison Wade, stick to what was said and done." Chloe nodded, wiping her eyes. Chen continued. "Did there come a time when you obtained this substance?" "Yes. In early December. Marcus went to see Dr. Patterson. He came back with 3 small vials of liquid Ambien." "Where did you keep these vials?" "In our bedroom, in Marcus's nightstand." "And what was the plan for using them?" "Christmas morning. We were going to make my mom her favorite tea, chamomile with honey. Marcus would add the Ambien to it. She'd drink it, and within an hour or so she'd start showing symptoms. We'd suggest going to the ER to be safe. Dr. Patterson would be there, would do the evaluation, and would start the process of declaring her incompetent." "Did this plan come to fruition?" "No. My mom switched her cup with Marcus's at the last minute. He drank the drugged tea instead of her." "What happened to Mr. Wade?" "He got dizzy, disoriented, started slurring his words. We realized she'd switched the cups, but by then it was too late." "What did you do?" "I panicked. Marcus told me to call it off, that we'd try again another time, But then Tyler told me he'd recorded us, and my mom went to the bank and the lawyer. It all fell apart. Ms. Morrison Wade, why are you testifying today? Chloe finally looked at Marcus. His expression was cold, furious. Because what we did was wrong. What I did was wrong. My mother didn't deserve this. She deserved to be protected, and instead I tried to steal from her. I tried to take away her freedom, her dignity, her life. Her voice broke. I'm testifying because someone needs to take responsibility, and because Marcus will do this again if someone doesn't stop him. Marcus's lawyer cross-examined her, trying to paint her as a liar, trying to save herself. But Chloe held firm. Every time the lawyer tried to suggest Marcus hadn't been the mastermind, Chloe produced another detail, another conversation, another plan, another manipulation. By the time she stepped down, Marcus's lawyer looked frustrated. The hearing lasted all day. Patricia Delgado testified about Marcus's scheme in 2016. Ruth Hammond testified about Dr. Patterson's prescription practices. Frank presented his financial investigation. At 4 p.m., Judge Hamilton made her ruling. I find there is sufficient evidence to bind Mr. Wade over for trial on all counts. Trial is set for April 15th. Mr. Wade, you will remain free on bail under the conditions previously set. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Marcus was going to trial. The weeks between the preliminary hearing and the trial were strange. Life continued. I volunteered at the library, played chess with Walter, took my watercolor class. But there was this undercurrent of tension waiting for the other shoe to drop. Chloe kept calling every Sunday. Our conversations were brief, but gradually became less awkward. How was your week, I'd ask. Busy. I picked up extra shifts at Target, and I'm taking an online accounting course. That's good. The therapist says I'm making progress, working through why I let Marcus manipulate me. That's important work. Yeah. A pause. Mom, I know I've said this before, but I really am sorry. I know sorry isn't enough, but it's a start, Chloe. Just keep doing the work. In March, she called with news. I got a promotion at the accounting firm. They're making me a junior accountant. It's not much, but it's more than bookkeeping. That's wonderful, sweetheart. The endearment slipped out. I hadn't meant to say it. But Chloe's breath caught, and when she spoke again, her voice was thick with tears. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me completely. You're my daughter. I'll never give up on you completely. But trust has to be earned back. I know. I'm trying. Tyler came home for spring break. He'd gotten straight A's his first semester and was talking about graduate school. Emma came with him. She'd basically become part of the family at this point. Grandma, Tyler said one evening while we were cooking dinner together, have you thought about what happens after the trial? What do you mean? Like, where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years? Are you happy in the house? Do you want to travel? I'd been so focused on surviving the immediate crisis that I hadn't thought about the future. I don't know, I admitted. I've just been taking things one day at a time. Maybe it's time to start thinking bigger, Emma suggested gently. You've spent so much energy protecting what you have, but what do you want to build? That night after they'd gone to bed in the guest room, I sat at my kitchen table with a blank piece of paper. At the top, I wrote, "What do I want?" It had been so long since I'd asked myself that question. I started writing, travel to places Harold and I talked about, but never went. Get better at watercolors. Maybe teach chess to kids at the library. See Tyler graduate. Be at Tyler and Emma's wedding someday. Rebuild my relationship with Chloe if she's willing to keep doing the work. Live on my own terms. Be happy. I looked at that last item for a long time. Be happy. It seemed almost revolutionary after everything that had happened. But why not? Why shouldn't I be happy? Harold wouldn't want me to spend the rest of my life in pain and anger. He'd want me to live. So that's what I was going to do. April 15th arrived warm and sunny. Spring was in full bloom, trees, flowering, birds singing. It felt wrong somehow that the world could be so beautiful on a day like this. The courthouse was packed. Tyler had come home from school. Emma was with him. Walter was there sitting behind me like a silent guardian. Janet had come to support Chloe, who sat with the prosecution team looking pale and nervous. Marcus arrived in another expensive suit. His lawyer had clearly coached him on courtroom demeanor. He looked somber, serious, nothing like the threatening man who'd shown up at my door. The jury was already selected, 8 women, 4 men ranging from their 30s to their 70s. I studied their faces trying to guess what they were thinking. Judge Hamilton entered, and we all rose. Please be seated. We're here for the trial of the people versus Marcus Anthony Wade. Are both sides ready? Yes, Your Honor, Prosecutor Chen said. Ready, Your Honor, Marcus's lawyer, Ms. Rebecca Torres, confirmed. Mr. Chen, you may give your opening statement. Chen walked to the jury box. He was young, maybe 35, but he had a commanding presence. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a case about predation. About a man who saw his elderly mother-in-law not as family, but as an opportunity. A source of money to solve his gambling debts and financial failures. He gestured to Marcus. Marcus Wade is a man who lost his real estate license for fraud. A man who gambles away thousands of dollars at racetracks. A man who, when his debts became overwhelming, decided to drug his wife's mother and have her falsely declared incompetent so he could steal her life savings. He laid out the case methodically. The recording, the bank transfers, the Ambien vials, Patricia Delgado's testimony about Marcus's prior scheme. The defense will try to tell you that Mr. Wade was just a desperate husband trying to save his family. But desperation doesn't excuse drugging someone. It doesn't excuse fraud. It doesn't excuse preying on the elderly. He paused. At the end of this trial, we'll ask you to hold Marcus Wade accountable for what he planned and what he attempted to do. Thank you. Ms. Torres stood for the defense's opening. Ladies and gentlemen, my client is not a monster. He's a man who made mistakes, yes. But the prosecution wants you to believe this was some calculated scheme, when really it was the desperate act of a man watching his family fall apart. She looked at the jury with earnest eyes. Marcus Wade and his wife were drowning in debt. The bank was foreclosing on their home. They'd borrowed money from Mrs. Morrison, money she willingly gave, but it wasn't enough. Marcus grew concerned about his mother-in-law living alone in a big house at age 68. He genuinely believed she might benefit from assisted living where she'd have help and companionship. I felt my jaw clench. The audacity. Did Marcus make poor choices? Yes. Should he have approached this differently? Absolutely. But this was not a malicious scheme to hurt Mrs. Morrison. This was a family in crisis making bad decisions out of desperation. And when the plan fell apart when Mrs. Morrison rightly pushed back, Marcus backed off immediately. No harm was done. She paused. We'll ask you to see the full picture here. A flawed man, yes, but not the villain the prosecution is painting. Thank you. The trial lasted 5 days. Prosecutor Chen called witness after witness. Detective Mills testified about the investigation. Frank presented his financial analysis. Tyler testified that was the hardest part, watching my grandson on the stand, his voice shaking as he explained why he'd recorded his parents. I love my mom, he said. But what they were planning to do to my grandma was wrong, and someone needed to stand up for her. Marcus's lawyer tried to discredit him, suggesting he was estranged from his parents and biased. But Tyler held firm. I'm not estranged from my mom. I'm angry at her, yes, but I still love her. I just love my grandma too, and she didn't deserve this. Patricia Delgado testified about Marcus's 2016 scheme. She was a strong witness, dignified, clear, unwilling to be rattled by cross-examination. He made me feel stupid for not trusting him, she said. He made me feel like I was the problem. But I wasn't. He was. Dr. Patterson was called as a hostile witness. He tried to downplay his involvement, claiming he'd only provided the Ambien as a favor, not knowing what Marcus planned to do with it. Did you ask what it was for? Chen asked. Marcus said it was for him, that he was having insomnia. 3 vials each containing enough for a dose. I thought he wanted extra. Dr. Patterson, isn't it true that you've been investigated before for improperly prescribing controlled substances? That was an unfounded complaint. Isn't it true that you prescribed Ambien to patients without proper evaluation? I maintain that I followed proper protocols. Isn't it true that Marcus Wade is your ex-brother-in-law, and you've maintained a relationship with him for 15 years? Yes, and isn't it true that you knew Marcus was in financial trouble? He may have mentioned, and didn't you think it was strange that he suddenly needed 3 vials of liquid Ambien when he'd never asked for sleep medication before? Dr. Patterson's face was red. I trusted him. Or you were complicit in his scheme. Objection, Ms. Torres stood. Argumentative. Sustained, Judge Hamilton said. But the damage was done. The jury had seen Dr. Patterson squirm. Then Chloe testified. This was the second time I'd heard her tell the story, but it wasn't easier. If anything, it was harder. Hearing her describe how she'd been manipulated, how she'd convinced herself she was helping me, how she'd gone along with a plan to drug her own mother. Ms. Torres' cross-examination was brutal. Ms. Morrison Wade, isn't it true that you're testifying to save yourself from jail time? I'm testifying because it's the truth. But you have a plea deal, correct, in exchange for your testimony? Yes. So you have every reason to lie to make Mr. Wade look as guilty as possible so you can walk away free. I'm not lying. Everything I said is true. You claim Mr. Wade masterminded this entire plan. But wasn't it you who approached your mother for money repeatedly? Yes, but Marcus told me to. Wasn't it you who had her sign the power of attorney? Yes, but wasn't it you who was going to make the tea on Christmas morning? Yes, but Marcus was the one who... So you participated in every step of this supposed scheme, but now you want this jury to believe you were just a victim, that you bear no responsibility. Chloe's eyes filled with tears. I bear responsibility. I'm not denying that. I did terrible things, but Marcus pushed me, manipulated me, convinced me we had no other choice. Or maybe you were just as guilty as him and now you're trying to save yourself. Objection, Chen said. Counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Ms. Torres, move on. But again, the damage was done. The jury had seen Chloe's culpability. Finally, on day 4, I was called to testify. I walked to the stand, was sworn in, and sat down. The courtroom felt enormous. All those eyes on me. Chen approached gently. Mrs. Morrison, can you tell us about your relationship with your daughter, Chloe? She's my only child. I raised her, loved her, gave her everything I could. And did she ask you for money over the past 2 years? Yes, multiple times. And did you give it to her? Every time, because I'm her mother. That's what mothers do. Did you ever expect repayment? She promised she'd repay me, but I told her not to worry about it. Family helps family. Did there come a time when you discovered Chloe had access to your bank accounts? Yes. In November, I went to the bank and found out she'd been transferring money without my knowledge. How did that make you feel? Betrayed, angry, hurt. She's my daughter. I trusted her. Chen walked me through the discovery of the power of attorney, the recording Tyler had made Marcus's threats at my door. Mrs. Morrison, when you heard that recording your daughter and son-in-law planning to drug you, how did you feel? I looked at the jury. Terrified. Not physically, I wasn't afraid they'd hurt me, but terrified that they'd succeed. That I'd end up in some facility confused and trapped while they sold my house and spent my money. Terrified that I'd lose everything Harold and I built, everything we'd worked for, our life together. My voice broke. I hadn't meant to cry, but tears came anyway. I'm 68 years old. I'm not wealthy, but I'm comfortable. I've lived in my house for 38 years. It's where I raised my daughter, where my husband died, where my grandson learned to ride a bike. It's my home. And they were going to take it from me. Not because I couldn't take care of myself, not because I needed help, but because they wanted the money. The courtroom was silent. Chen let that sit for a moment. Then, thank you, Mrs. Morrison. No further questions. It is. Torres stood for cross-examination. I braced myself. Mrs. Morrison, you're clearly a capable woman. Smart, independent. Why do you think your daughter believed you might benefit from assisted living? Because her husband convinced her I was incompetent, which I'm not. But surely Chloe must have seen something. She saw what Marcus told her to see. He's very convincing. Mrs. Morrison, isn't it true that you gave your daughter over $40,000? Yes. That's a lot of money to give someone you don't trust. I trusted her then, before I knew what she was doing. And isn't it true that you willingly signed the power of attorney? I signed it because she lied about what it was. But you did read it before signing. I skimmed it. She said it was insurance paperwork my doctor recommended. So you signed a legal document without reading it thoroughly. I felt heat rise to my face. She's my daughter. I trusted her. And that was your choice, wasn't it, to trust without verifying? Are you suggesting this is my fault? I'm suggesting that you bear some responsibility for signing a document without fully understanding it. Chen stood. Objection. Victim blaming. Sustained, Judge Hamilton said sharply. Ms. Torres, the victim's trust in her daughter is not at issue here. Move on. Ms. Torres asked a few more questions, trying to paint me as confused or forgetful, but I shut her down each time. I was sharp, clear, and completely competent. The jury could see that. When I stepped down, I caught Marcus's eye. He was glaring at me with pure hatred. Good. Let him be angry. I'd taken away his victim. Closing arguments were powerful on both sides. Chen reminded the jury of the evidence, the recording the Ambien vials, Patricia Delgado's testimony showing a pattern of behavior. Marcus Wade is a predator, he said, and if you don't hold him accountable, he will do this again. Maybe not to Mrs. Morrison, but to someone, some other elderly person who trusts him, some other victim who won't be as fortunate as Mrs. Morrison was to discover the plan before it succeeded. Ms. Torres argued that Marcus had made mistakes but hadn't actually harmed anyone. The tea was never drunk. Mrs. Morrison was never drugged. No money was actually stolen. It was transferred and could have been returned. Yes, Marcus showed poor judgment. But is poor judgment worth sending a man to prison? We ask you to consider probation, community service restitution, not prison. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. We waited in a small conference room, me, Tyler, Emma, Walter, Daniel. Chloe was in a different room with Janet. At 4:30 p.m., we got word the jury had reached a verdict. We filed back into the courtroom. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Marcus stood as the jury filed in. His face was pale but composed. Judge Hamilton addressed the jury. Has the jury reached a verdict? The forewoman, a woman in her 60s with gray hair, stood. We have your honor. What say you? On the count of conspiracy to commit elder abuse, we find the defendant guilty. My breath caught. On the count of attempted fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Tyler squeezed my hand. On the count of attempted assault with a controlled substance, we find the defendant guilty. Marcus's face went white. His lawyer put a hand on his arm, but he shook her off. Judge Hamilton thanked the jury and set sentencing for 2 weeks later. As we left the courtroom, Marcus's voice rang out. This isn't over, Grace. You think you've won, but you haven't. You destroyed my life. You destroyed Chloe's life. Mr. Wade, Judge Hamilton's voice was sharp. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. Bailiffs escorted Marcus out. He kept looking back at me, his face twisted with rage. Outside, the spring sunshine felt surreal. Tyler hugged me. Walter shook my hand. Daniel smiled. You did it, he said quietly. You protected yourself. I saw Chloe standing across the plaza with Janet. Our eyes met. She looked devastated, but also somehow relieved. I walked over to her slowly. Tyler and Daniel held back, giving us space. Mom, she whispered. You testified, I said. You told the truth. I had to, not just because of the plea deal, because it was the right thing to do. I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd lost weight. She looked tired, but there was something different in her eyes, something genuine. Keep doing the right thing, I said quietly. Keep working on yourself, and maybe someday we'll find our way back to each other. I will, I promise. She wiped her eyes. Mom, I know I don't deserve to ask, but can I hug you? I hesitated, then opened my arms. She fell into them sobbing. I held my daughter, my complicated, broken, struggling daughter, and let her cry. I'm so sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry. I know, I murmured. I know you are. When we finally pulled apart, she looked at me with red, swollen eyes. Thank you for not giving up on me. You're my daughter. I'll never completely give up on you. But Chloe, you have a long road ahead. Years of work. I know. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove I can change. I nodded. Then I'll be here, watching, waiting to see. 2 weeks later, we returned to court for sentencing. Marcus had shaved his head, some kind of statement, maybe trying to look different, more sympathetic. It didn't work. Judge Hamilton reviewed the case. Mr. Wade, you have been convicted of conspiracy to commit elder abuse, attempted fraud, and attempted assault with a controlled substance. These are serious crimes that strike at the heart of our duty to protect vulnerable members of our community. Your Honor, if I may, Marcus started. You may not. You'll have a chance to speak in a moment. She consulted her notes. I've reviewed the victim impact statement from Mrs. Morrison. I've considered the testimony at trial, and I've looked at your prior history. She looked up at him. Mr. Wade, this court finds that you are a danger to elderly individuals. You have shown a pattern of targeting vulnerable people for financial gain. You manipulated your wife, corrupted a physician, and planned to strip an innocent woman of her autonomy and assets. The only reason you didn't succeed was because of Mrs. Morrison's vigilance and her grandson's courage. Marcus's jaw tightened. On the count of conspiracy to commit elder abuse, I sentence you to 3 years in state prison. On the count of attempted fraud, I sentence you to 2 years to run consecutively. On the count of attempted assault with a controlled substance, I sentence you to 2 years also to run consecutively. Total sentence 7 years. 7 years. Marcus would be 52 when he got out. Additionally, Judge Hamilton continued, upon release you will be subject to 5 years of supervised probation. You will be prohibited from contact with Mrs. Morrison or any member of her family. You will pay restitution of $51,000 to Mrs. Morrison, and you will be required to register as an elder abuse offender. Marcus's face was red. Your Honor, this is excessive. This is Justice Mr. Wade. Bailiff, remand the defendant into custody. 2 bailiffs approached. Marcus stood looking back at Chloe one last time. She was crying, but she didn't look away. As they led him out, he shouted, Chloe, don't let her turn you against me. I did this for us, for our family. Then he was gone. Dr. Patterson was sentenced separately, 2 years in prison, loss of medical license prohibition from practicing medicine again. It was over. Spring came again, as it always does. I was in my garden planting tomatoes. My knees protested 69 years old now, but I didn't care. Harold and I had planted tomatoes every spring for 40 years. I wasn't stopping now. Walter came over with his chess set. We played on my back patio, surrounded by flowers I'd planted over the winter. Daffodils, tulips, hyacinths. The whole yard smelled like hope. You're getting too good at this, Walter grumbled after I checkmated him. Maybe you're just getting predictable. Harsh but fair. Tyler called that afternoon. Grandma, I have news. Good news, I hope. The best news. Emma said yes. My heart swelled. You proposed last night. Took her to the place where we first met, the library study room. I hid the ring in a calculus book. I laughed. That's perfect. We want to get married next summer. At your house, if that's okay. In the backyard. Tyler, I would be honored. And Grandma, I want to ask you something else. Will you walk me down the aisle? I know that's not traditional for guys, but you're the most important person in my life besides Emma. It doesn't feel right without you. I started crying. Of course I will. Of course. After we hung up, I sat on my back porch watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. Harold would have loved Emma. He would have loved seeing Tyler so happy. My phone rang again. Chloe, we talked once a week now. She'd completed her probation, finished her court-mandated counseling, and continued therapy on her own. She'd gotten promoted again at the accounting firm. She'd moved into a small apartment, nothing fancy, but it was hers. Mom, I wanted to tell you, I finished paying you back. What, babe? The restitution, all $51,000. I just made the final payment. Chloe, that was supposed to take years. I picked up extra work, freelance bookkeeping on weekends, sold everything I owned that had any value. I wanted it done. I needed to know I'd made it right as much as I could. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. She was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Of course. Tyler's getting married. Would there be any chance I could come? I know I might not be welcome, but he's my son and Chloe, of course you can come. You're his mother. Really? Really? We're family? Broken, complicated, messy family. But family. She started crying. Thank you. Thank you so much. But Chloe, yes. You sit with me, not separately. Together. We do this as family. I'd like that. After dinner, I walked through my house. Harold's photo still on the mantel. Chloe's high school trophies still on the shelf. Tyler's baby pictures still on the wall. This house had seen so much. Birth, death, betrayal, forgiveness. It held all of it. And it was still standing. I was still standing. Summer arrived warm and golden. Tyler and Emma's wedding was small, just 50 people in my backyard. We'd strung lights between the trees, set up chairs in rows on the lawn, created an arch of flowers where they'd say their vows. I wore a lavender dress, Emma had helped me pick it out, and shoes that weren't too high because I'd be walking Tyler down an aisle of grass. Chloe arrived early, nervous. She wore a simple blue dress, carried a small gift. Mom, she said, I brought something. For you, actually. I've been working on it for months. She handed me a photo album. I opened it carefully. Inside were photos I'd never seen. Chloe as a baby, Harold holding her in the hospital. Chloe's first day of school, me braiding her hair. Family Christmases, vacations, birthdays. I found them in storage, Chloe said. Some were at Janet's from when I moved out of the house. I made copies, organized them. I thought you might want to remember the good times, before everything went wrong. I looked at a photo of Harold and me at Chloe's high school graduation. We looked so young, so happy, so unaware of what was coming. Thank you, I whispered. This is beautiful. I wanted you to know that I remember too. The good parts, the love. It wasn't all fake, Mom. Most of it was real. I know, honey, I know. The ceremony was perfect. Emma wore a simple white dress and looked radiant. Tyler wore a suit and couldn't stop grinning. When it was time, Tyler offered me his arm. We walked down the aisle together, past Walter, past Daniel and his wife, past friends from the library and community center, past Chloe, who was crying openly. At the arch, I kissed Tyler's cheek. Your grandfather would be so proud of you. I'm proud of you, Grandma, he whispered back. You're the strongest person I know. I took my seat in the front row. Chloe was sitting next to me as promised. She reached over tentatively and took my hand. I squeezed back. The officiant began. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. I looked around my backyard, at the flowers Harold and I had planted years ago, at the tree where Tyler learned to climb, at the house where I'd built a life. This could have all been taken from me. My home, my autonomy, my dignity. Marcus had tried. Chloe had helped him. But I'd fought back. I'd protected myself. And in the process, I'd learned something important. I was stronger than I'd ever realized. Tyler and Emma exchanged vows, promised to love each other through everything, the good, the bad, the complicated. Like Chloe and me, I thought, learning to love each other again through the complications. When they kissed, everyone cheered. Chloe and I stood applauding. She looked at me, smiled through her tears. I'm glad you let me be here, she said. I'm glad you're here too. At the reception, Tyler gave a toast. I want to thank my grandmother, Grace Morrison. She let us use her beautiful home for this wedding. But more than that, she's taught me what real strength looks like, what integrity looks like, what it means to stand up for yourself while still leaving room for forgiveness. He raised his glass. To Grandma, the strongest woman I know. To Grandma, everyone echoed. I wiped my eyes, overwhelmed. Later, as the sun set and the string lights glowed against the darkening sky, Chloe approached me where I was sitting. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. How did you do it? How did you forgive me after everything I did? I thought about that. I haven't completely forgiven you yet. Not fully. That's going to take more time. But I've forgiven you enough to give you a chance. Because I believe people can change. And because holding on to anger was hurting me more than you. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not. But I'm giving it anyway. Not for you, for me. Because I want to be the kind of person who can forgive, even when it's hard. She nodded, more tears falling. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Chloe. We sat together watching Tyler and Emma dance their first dance as husband and wife. The music drifted across the yard, something soft and romantic. Walter came over, offered me his hand. May I have this dance, Grace? I haven't danced in years. Neither have I. We'll figure it out together. He led me to the makeshift dance floor. We swayed awkwardly, laughing at our missteps. You did good, Grace, he said quietly. You survived. You protected yourself. And you still found a way to be kind. I had help. You Daniel Frank Tyler. I couldn't have done it alone. Maybe not, but you had the courage to ask for help. A lot of people don't. The song ended. I hugged Walter, thanked him for everything. Then I stood at the edge of my backyard, looking at the party, the lights, the laughter, the love, and I thought about Harold. I did it, honey, I thought. I kept the house. I kept myself. I didn't let them take what we built. And I found a way to forgive without forgetting. I could almost hear his voice. I never doubted you for a second. Somewhere in the distance, fireworks started, someone in the neighborhood celebrating something. The sky lit up red, gold, blue. I was 70 years old next month. I'd survived betrayal, faced down threats, rebuilt broken relationships, And I was still here, still strong, still standing. And I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Tomorrow I'd wake up early, make my coffee, maybe start that pottery class I'd been eyeing, call Tyler and Emma to see how married life was treating them, check in on Chloe, play chess with Walter, live my life, on my own terms, because I'd earned that, the hard way. And no one was ever going to take it from me again. 3 years later, I stood in my living room packing boxes, not because I was being forced out, but because I'd made a choice. Tyler and Emma had bought a house 2 streets over. They were expecting their first baby, my great-grandchild, and I decided to move into their guest house. A small cottage in their backyard, perfect for a grandmother who wanted to be close to family but still independent. My house, the house Harold and I built our life in, I was giving to Chloe. She'd been sober from financial recklessness for 4 years. She'd built a successful career. She'd become someone I was proud of. "Mom, are you sure?" she'd asked when I told her. "This house is worth so much. You could sell it, use the money. I want you to have it. It's where you grew up, where your father and I raised you. It should stay in the family." She'd cried, of course. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll take care of it. Say you'll remember the good memories, not just the bad ones. Say you'll fill it with love again." "I will. I promise." Now, as I packed Harold's photo still in its frame, still smiling at me, I felt at peace. The doorbell rang. Chloe early to help me pack. "Hey, Mom." She looked good, healthy, happy. She'd met someone, a kind man named Robert, who worked at the library. They were taking things slow, but I liked him. "Hey, sweetheart, come in." We packed together, talking and laughing. She told me about her new promotion. I told her about the baby furniture I'd been shopping for. "Grandma Grace," she said, trying out the title. "Your grandson's going to be a father. Can you believe it?" Some days, no. Other days, it feels like time moved exactly as it should. She looked around the living room. "Thank you for this. For giving me the house. For giving me another chance. You earned it, Chloe. You did the work. You changed. I'm still working on it. Therapy twice a month, making amends, trying to be better. That's all any of us can do." As the sun set, we sat on the porch one last time, me in Harold's old chair, Chloe on the steps like she used to as a teenager. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Always. Do you ever think about that Christmas, about what almost happened?" "Sometimes, but not as much as I used to." "I still have nightmares about it. About what I almost did to you." "That means you learned something. That means you're not the same person you were." "I'm not. I promise you I'm not." I reached out, touched her hair gently. "I know, sweetheart. I see it every day." We sat in comfortable silence as the stars came out one by one. I was 73 years old. I'd survived betrayal, found forgiveness, rebuilt broken trust, and I was surrounded by love. Tyler, Emma, my future great-grandchild Chloe, redeemed Walter, still beating me at chess half the time. Harold would have been so proud. I was proud too. Not just of my family, but of myself. For fighting back. For protecting what was mine. For being strong enough to forgive without being foolish enough to forget. For surviving. For thriving. For living, truly living on my own terms. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all.